here because people are goal oriented and gamification works because we all love playing games. We find out throughout our life that if we set targets, and you're hungry, it gives you an opportunity to see where you are, measure, be analytical, and then meet those. And
Today's guest is Dana Lawson. Dana has had a long and successful career in tech. She is CTO at Netlify and had leadership roles at incredible companies like GitHub, New Relic, InVision, and more. With Dana, we talked about her journey, starting in the military, becoming a manager, and major lessons she has learned. We also talked about how to hire engineers, how to create a diverse and inclusive team, and the impact of AI on engineering. So let's dive right into it after a short word from our sponsor. Elite software teams demand great efficiency and developer experience. We are talking high output reliability and morale. So what's the secret? They've hand-built a platform to power a continuous improvement loop. And now you can have that too. Sleuth is your platform to empower this continuous loop quickly, pinpoint areas needing improvement, implement those improvements instantly with automations, and automatically measure their impact continuously. Improve as elite teams do with Sleuth automations. Hey, Dana, welcome and thank you so much for being here with us today.
thank you for having me. I'm super excited to get to talk to you, Luca. I was telling you, like, this is one of my favorite podcasts. So super honored to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Honor is mine. Dana, I mean, you are CTO of Netlify, which needs no introduction, and you have had such a long career in tech, which includes leadership roles at other incredible companies like GitHub, InVision, New Relic, and more. So there are so many things I would love to discuss with you. So maybe let's just start with how did you get into tech? What was your journey like?
Lucas, some people have heard this story, but it's not your typical tech journey. And what's awesome is I think
I know.
today in today's age, a lot of people don't have typical tech journeys. So it's really awesome to see the diversity that's happening. But I mean, how to get into tech? I grew up in this really small border town in New Mexico and Texas here in the United States. I mean, absolutely in the middle of nowhere. And I never even thought for an iota of a second that I would be doing what I'm doing today at all. I was inquisitive, very smart mouth. I'm me, people that know me, I'm me. And I actually went to school after high school to study art. I was like, I'm gonna be an artist. I'm in New Mexico. It's gonna be amazing. And then I was
Amazing.
like, uh, I'm gonna be poor forever. I was already poor, and it sucks being poor because we live in a capitalist, culture. And I had this realization, like, oh my gosh, I'm not that good at art. It's very competitive. And honestly, Luca, I like to party. I'm older now, but I like to have a good time. And so I I didn't hit my art career in college, and on a whim, I joined the U.S. Army.
Wow.
And people were like, "Okay, you went from like an art student," and I was like, "Yeah, but I love math," to joining the U.S. Army. And I was really just looking for an opportunity to change my situation,
Mm,
and it was a good one at the time, back in the late '90s. And tech was just emerging there. I had
yeah.
done the Microsoft front page. We all had to do a little bit back in the mid 90s. Everybody, I think, in the US played Oregon Trail. So I had some exposure to tech and computers, but nothing really. Like I didn't have a home computer growing up. Like we were
Yeah.
poor. And like they were just barely coming out. I mean, you had to have some bank to get one. So I joined the
Yeah.
army and they had this new field. And I was like, you know what? Computers need air conditioning. I'm going to choose the computer job. Seriously, I got into tech because I'm a baby and I
That
wanted
was
air
very
conditioning.
smart.
I was like, I don't want to play. I was like, if I'm going to play Army, I'm going to be comfortable playing Army.
Sure.
So like, it was really awesome though, because like the internet was just emerging. This was the late '90s. The military had the SIPRnet and they had intranets, and the SIPRnet is like a secret internet. Everybody,
Yeah.
that's actually what I think it stands for, which is
Military
silly.
stuff.
Military stuff, but it was basically the rudimentary beginnings of what we get to experience now on the internet. And I had to administer these applications, create, deploy all of these SaaS-based applications before SaaS was a thing. And so like I got
Yeah.
bit by the bug. They send you to like a 12-month military school that is going from networking to writing program to writing code.
Wow.
And I got out and I just did everything. And then I got out of the military and I got a job as contractor. And here we are. It's just been one thing after another, and then my journey to really,
So
really getting into,
So it was
sorry.
like it's kind of a degree taken in the military program in computer science, something like that. I
Yeah,
mean, it's something that
basically.
people know basically nothing about that this such a thing exists even.
Oh no, it was like the computer science school. It was in Georgia at the time, and you're doing 12 hardcore months of like every day, you know,
Yeah,
from as early as they wake you up until as late as you have to stay, learning
yeah,
everything. And back then, nothing was convenient. Like I had to format servers so many times, and they would give you a stack of floppy disk, and you would sit there for 3 to 4 hours because I used to
wow,
do real stupid shit because I didn't know anything. And so I paid my dues, but it was interesting. Dude, I got the Silicon Valley bug, and I've always been on kind of the DevOps side of the
mm,
house because I love problem solving. I love enabling people, and I love, I don't know, treasure hunting for problems. And that's when, fast forward, I got into fintech and New Relic, and I've just been in the whole, how do I help developers
yeah,
develop? How do I help
yeah,
creators create? And I've been doing that ever since for like since wow, really since forever, since my whole career.
yeah.
That's just what I do. I help people be productive.
Yeah, I should say before it was cool, before DevOps was even a thing, I mean,
It was
now
not.
it's kind of, common wisdom, but it wasn't always the case. I think there were, infra people versus, developers, all these big feuds. I mean, it wasn't always like today, I should say.
No, and we didn't even have all those acronyms. I mean, we had acronyms, but I think, if we think about my journey of like choosing tech because of air conditioning, I think that like it's natural that I want to find the easiest path to do the stuff that we don't want to do. I mean, and that's really the premise of DevOps is like, how can I take out all the chores? And I am a lazy person. Take those chores out. I don't want to do any of those chores. So I was always like, I'm going to learn how to write scripts so I don't have to do this. Oh, I'm going to
Yeah.
learn how to write code so I don't have to do this. And here we are. I'm like at Netlify, I'm going to help you not have to do some of that things that I don't want to do. And I think that helps unlock that innovation part because when we're just doing chores all the time, we only have
Yeah.
so much mental capacity.
Yeah, really, really the common thread, like from the air conditioning to to helping
Yeah.
developers following laziness. Following laziness is such uh,
Yes.
it's a great heuristic, I think, for smart people, who want to automate stuff, want to get comfortable, and lead to the right things. And so I think many believe that careers are like this linear thing where growth is incremental and steady. But in my experience, actually, when you look back at your journey, there are always like a few inflection points. Like for some people, it's like moving from, for example, IC to manager. For others, is when they join a
Hmm.
specific company. But there are moments that really usually put you on a different trajectory, let's say. So first, do you agree? Of course. Second, have you experienced similar like tipping points in your career?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, nothing in life is totally linear. I mean, I love predictability and consistency for the boring stuff, but like that's not what gets me out of bed. And so I think the exciting part is knowing that life and weight loss are not linear. You got to work for them, right? It goes
Yeah.
up and down, and it's that forward momentum. But some points for me were really stepping from that IC role or tech lead, where
Mm.
as a tech lead, you're a leader. I'm sorry. Maybe you don't have to write the performance reviews, but the responsibility of ensuring that everybody understands what you're doing and how to break that down typically falls on that technical leader. And sometimes it's manager, sometimes the engineer.
Yeah.
Back in the early days, the span of control for managers was much larger than it is today, but we were all in office, right? There would be like one manager to everybody in office.
Yeah.
And they would walk around and keep an eye on you and your cubes. And for me, that leap and that inflection point was from IC into leadership. It
Mm.
was like suddenly, okay, you've been running your mouth, architecting like designing and writing code. Now you're going to enable people to do that. And you're not
Mm.
going to do that as much. You're still going to do it, but you're not going to do it as much. And I'm a natural born loudmouth. So they're like, you're already telling everybody what to do anyway. You should just be the manager. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
I was like, I want to be the boss. Like I was
Yeah.
allergic to it. I think a lot of engineers can be allergic to that because it's like, wait, you want me to go to the dark side? That's not my homies. My homies are over here. We get to make
Yeah.
fun of you. But I was already naturally gravitating towards it, and people were following my instinct. And so it really pushed me to, get my shit together and say, like, okay, what does this mean to be more effective and to really work through people versus you design, implement, and do? And it was awesome. And once I started that people manager journey, it was something that it felt very natural for me. But I still didn't want to lose the edge of being technical.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of women talk about this, but it's true. Like we get maybe not as bad anymore, but they'd be like, oh great, you're a people manager now, what are you doing writing code? It's like, get out of here, I have to stay fresh. Like, because engineers know when you're full of baloney, and if you're
Yeah.
a people manager that don't know their business, they're going to smell you out and say, get out of here,
Yeah.
you don't know my world. But that was a huge inflection point. But beyond that too, I mean, I've done so many different roles in the software development life cycle.
Mm.
I mean, I think it's just about taking chances and doing things that stretch you, because as a senior leader, you want to really see end to end that whole employee and customer journey. You can't just be single focused on like the little piece that you maybe have complete influence on. You have to pay attention
Yeah.
to what you do have authority on, and then everything around you. I mean, I've freelanced at work as a technical implementation manager or product manager. One of the more interesting things I did, which was an inflection point, was at GitHub. After the acquisition with Microsoft, um, it was just an exciting time to really take this open source company of randos that had this premise that developers around the world can create the best software and also make it grow up a little bit. And they chose me to help do that. And I was like, okay, cool. But it was also a growth opportunity for me as well, because I'd been at startups for so long.
Yeah.
And it was a huge career push. But during that time, I led engineering and products engineering, and we cell divide into a bigger, more amazing thing. But I also took a turn at business development. And I had
Yeah.
never done business development. And
Yeah.
our wonderful COO at the time, Erica Brescia, was like, you know what? Business development at GitHub is a technical role. And boy, howdy, was she right. It was so cool to be on the other side of that, to talk to partners, to learn the lingo.
Yeah.
I don't know what an ISV is. It's an independent software vendor. But this is more of that go-to-market side. And I was like, wow, how interesting. And now as a CTO that actually leads all of R&D, because CTOs come in many different flavors and sizes, having
Yeah.
that business development like opportunity. I mean, I can speak, walk the talk. Like you could throw me into sales. Okay, maybe not. Don't throw me into sales. I'll get in trouble. But I feel like an even better partner now to the sales side of the house and the marketing side of the house than I ever had because of that experience. And so I
Yeah.
think you have to take those opportunities that push you outside of the boundary, but also like root yourself in what gets you out of bed. And for me, it's enablement. It's enablement of people. I don't know. I don't know why I've like to be a people pleaser, but that sparks joy in me is helping those around me and helping the community.
Yeah, I mean, such a great story, such a great journey. One thing I was thinking while you were talking is how you said that you have to stay grounded, you have to stay technical. Otherwise, I mean, when you're leading engineers, people can smell out this from 10 miles away. But even when you're doing business development or where you're in leadership, you need to understand the details, especially when you work on developer tools, because that is a core part of what, is useful for what you need to achieve. So I'm wondering, how do you balance, how can you balance your like leadership or management duties with, staying technical? I get it that maybe when you're a tech lead or a fresh engineering manager, it means keep writing some code on the side or on a few things. But now that you're a CTO, for example, do you still write code, are in the weeds of technical details. How was it throughout your journey?
I I used to have a lot more imposter syndrome where
Mm.
I would like basically pull two full-time jobs and it's like, okay, you did all day managing. Now when you get home in the evening, 3 hours, you're just gonna get into the depths of what you're doing every night. And I'm gonna talk, you talk about burnt out city.
Mhm.
And then I was like, well, how often do I need to use this? How much do I really need to know? And honestly, at this point, I try to be real specific. I just choose projects that I like, and I don't go to the depths that I would have as an IC because that's not my job anymore. And frankly, there are thousands of engineers that could do it probably better than me. I know they can. I'm just like, you
They
do this every
should.
day.
I mean,
They should. That's their job. I'm like, you better be better than me.
yeah.
You should come look at my pull request. It's probably a bunch of crap. Don't read, read my comments. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. But I think you still have to understand what is going on and not at a superficial level. You don't have to be a deep expert, but you also need to understand where that limitation is and invest that time in understanding it. But like
Mm.
as far as getting down to you know understanding every primitive, every call, every API execution for everything, that's not my job. It's not my job. It's not my job anymore. And so what I do is I go to meetups still. I know, right? You're like, what are you doing going to meetups? One, freaking I love meetups. I'm glad they're happening again. I miss them. It's been a lot of
Yeah,
interesting,
it's true.
interesting, interesting time and opportunity to honestly hang out with developers and hear what people are talking about. I watch virtual meetups, and a lot of executives don't go anymore. Like I am the me and my CEO Matt Billman, we will show up at your meetup and we will talk tech with y'all. And people will be like, "Oh yeah, what are you doing?" And you're like, "Oh, we're going to CTO Netlify." They're like, what are you doing at this remix meetup? And I was like, because remix is badass and like I want to know everything I can about it and what's happening and how you all are discussing it. And I think that's more powerful than me sitting
So you
and
go
and
like
honestly writing
undercover
code.
with a hat, you know?
I always wear a hat. Undercover would be without a hat. They'd be like, who are you, random? Who are you, random middle-aged woman? Are you just here for the free pizza? Yes.
Yes, yes,
And
yes,
And
and
yes, and uh to hang out with y'all. And it's been really fun. So I try to do that too. We haven't had as many in Portland, but in San Francisco, it's popping, man. So like, if anybody listeners, like go hit a meetup, go talk to your fellow nerds. Get out of your home office. Do it.
yeah. That's great. That's such a great advice. And by the way, I love that we are seeing more meetups again, even here in Italy after COVID. I have to say that things were a little bit slower to pick up again. I don't know at your place, but I'm glad because it's about the energy and it's about staying grounded and connecting with people in a way that I love internet communities, and of course I write a newsletter. I have a lot of exchanges from people who reply to the articles and stuff, but the energy that you get in person, it's different. So yeah.
So different. It's
Yeah.
good. And like I feel like sometimes you get to hear stuff before everybody else because talking to somebody in person, I'm gonna tell you, I was like, yo, I heard I was at a meetup and they're like, we're gonna release blah blah blah. And I was like, what? That
Yes.
is so amazing. Unannounced, not even known. I'm not gonna spill the beans here, but like go talk to people, not for like
Yes.
hot tips, but for like human connections, because we all want to be excited about how we're advancing,
Yeah.
humanity with what we do.
Yeah, and I think even if you want to learn something, the level of energy you put yourself in and of retention that you get from attending a live event. You mentioned Remix. One thing is you go to the website, you read the docs. You see a bunch of examples. That's one thing. Another thing is you go in person to an event with other people presenting stuff and showcasing
Yeah.
things. The level of energy that you put in and that comes back as retention and excitement about that. I think it's another scale altogether.
Yeah. And also, conferences are kind of, I don't know. I have a very divisive opinion about conferences. I love them and I also hate them. Um, but I find like conferences that are coming back that are smaller and intimate are giving you like that meetup on steroids vibe. Like I went
Yeah.
to Epic Web, and it was epic and it was intimate and it was amazing. And I was just like, okay, I miss this. I miss this. But like on the flip side, you go to the much larger ones and like I'll probably never get a job at like AWS reInvent too much on the other end of the spectrum for me. So I hope like they take,
Mm.
like all these people that are doing conferences really take it, the essence of what it is. It's to connect, it's to educate, it's to learn, it's to grow. And if you don't have a space to do that, you can watch the recording. Like, why even have the event? You're
Yeah.
just making money off people. So,
Yeah.
I'm here for it. And I don't know, but I am obviously a people person. So I know a lot of people are introverts who are like, I don't want to do it. But a lot of people at meetups are introverts too. So they're just standing there in the corner, eating their pizza too, staring at you. They want somebody to come talk to them. Trust me.
Love it. And I love that. I will quote this. And in conferences like super meetups, I mean, the good conferences should look like that as opposed to,
They should.
big corporate events.
Mhm.
Yeah, totally.
I love it. I mean, that's how Netlify, we're approaching our conference that way. It's like, okay, what do we really want to accomplish? We want people to come and talk about web development. Like, come talk about web development. Like, just come, like, talk about it. Like, everybody's talking about AI. Cool. Let's talk about web development because you still have to create the
We still
website
have
for the
that,
AI to do.
Yes.
You still got to do that until AI. Don't worry, AI is going to take some of our jobs. I'm not worried about it, but it's an exciting time.
Yeah, totally. An exciting time. And I will ask you about AI. Definitely. I have like my
You
long
have
list.
to.
I have my long list of notes. And I did my homework to prep for this chat, went to some interviews and talks of yours. And there are a couple
Oh
that I
no.
found where you discuss hiring engineers, which is very interesting
Hmm.
to me. Because, hiring in tech gets endless criticism for all kinds of things. Like interviews that do not resemble your actual job, lack of transparency, biases, and whatnot, let's say. So, simple question is, how do you select and hire engineers like at Netlify in 2024?
I mean, honestly, I think that the worst thing you could do with hiring somebody is have them show up and be like, "Y'all just sold me something that is not this." And so I think, previous to 2024, there was a lot of optimism and people and companies were hiring, 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 and it's like job, job, jobs. And now in 2024, I think all companies are becoming even more intentional about it, good or bad. And for me, the hiring journey has to mimic that onboarding. And so
Mm,
grounding yourself in your levels, like what does an effective and an exceeding engineer look like? What is your baseline? And level setting that with your own crew first, because you want to bring in somebody where the table stakes are the same, right? And so really partnership with my talent side of the house, we go through it. We go through the engineering levels, the product management levels, and then we go and reflect back and say, okay, how does this mirror our job descriptions? Because we want to
mm,
be really clear about what success looks like. Because when people join, the question after that 90 days is really, okay, great. I've been here for 3 months. I'm doing awesome. What's next? Where does my career go?
yeah.
And when you're at an earlier stage startup, that may not be as as concrete, but it's something I tell people to always work on because you're taking people on a journey. You want them to know what's next. You want to give them that map of saying here, because people are goal oriented and gamification works because we all love playing games. We find out throughout our life that if we set targets, and you're hungry, it gives you an opportunity to see where you are, measure, be analytical, and then meet those. And so on the hiring front, really, I try to ensure that we hold our values in place
Mm,
and that we are trying to have a global workforce that mirrors the global community that want to use our software. And you have to mirror that. And it's always a work in progress of trying to find and set the right culture. And you do that with every hire. So I try to find a lot of time ensuring that when we're sourcing and that we're looking at candidates, that we're really looking at our values, our career levels,
mm.
getting that in symmetry so that people don't have to worry about that stuff. Once again, that can become a chore when you're constantly going, am I being effective? Am I being successful? And I don't know about you, when you get hired for the first, when you get hired onto a new job, I don't care what level you are, at first few weeks, you're like, I don't know how I'm doing. Am I doing a
Yeah.
good job? People seem happy. Am I effective enough? Tell people what success look like. And beyond that, it's ensuring that nothing is overly binary
Mm.
in an interview, like on the technical side, because people have test anxiety. And I think you have to look at a bunch of artifacts to really understand how somebody can produce and how they're going to fit in versus like, okay, cool, we made you do this take home exercise and
Yeah.
you did something a little funky, you're out. It's like, no, it's like, cool, take home exercise. Let's talk about your thought process. To me, it's all about critical thinking. How are you
Mm.
going from A to B? How are you unlocking the problems? And the more senior, I want to understand, like, I'm more interested not on how you did it, but how you thought about it and where you see it going. Because you want that curiosity to be a part of it all. Because people can go out there now and shit. Like, I can go into Chat GPT, pick your flavor of bot on the fly right now in an interview and probably come up with the answer. And if I'm
Yeah.
sharp enough, and a lot of people are, they can regurgitate that shit in real time. Be smart, trust your instinct, but ground
Yeah.
yourself in your values, your levels. And then, you know what? You don't have to hire immediately. Like, there's a lot of amazing people out there looking for jobs right now. There's so many hungry engineers and there's been layoffs across our industry. I've had to do them too. It's freaking I don't even want to get into it. It's a fucking bummer. But there's so many wonderful people out there looking. Pick the right candidate that's going to make your team better. Take a little bit of time. Nothing nothing has to be that extreme. And you can optimize as you go, but like I try to encourage people, like, hire smarter, not faster, because I would say 23, probably like 2017 to 21, it was just like hire fast. Your
Yeah.
metric, your key performance indicator in hiring was how quickly to close.
Yeah.
And now we're being more intentional. It's like, I say how quickly to effectiveness. Like,
Yes.
that's what your KPI is. And you should be optimizing, like, can I get their systems onboarded? Can I get their development environment ready to rock? How can I get them to have the best experience ever so they can go,
Yeah.
go, go? Because nobody wants to be stuck in a bad experience. And that experience starts with that first recruiting call. And I think,
Yeah.
again, having your recruiter enabled to talk your talk and be a partner, that candidate experience is going to be better all the way through the end.
Yeah, I love the focus on the candidate experience. I love the focus on really matching the values, the culture. And I have to plug now the AI question because, I mean, you triggered it when you mentioned ChatGPT. Do you think that the fact that now all the tools available, even to candidates, kind of shift the kind of skills that you have to interview for, hire for? Does it change in any way the interview process, or I mean, not the interview process? I mean, the selection in general of candidates.
I mean, you just have to know that people are using these tools and good for them. Like, you best be adopting this. Like, you want to be a developer of the future as much as you don't want to, you best start looking at how you're going to implement or how you're going to start connecting these tool sets, because I don't see any part of the stack not having some kind of tendril to an AI system at this point. And going forward, it's never going to stop. It's like when the industrial revolution happened and automobiles and manufacturing were there. Is that it is happening, and you have to pay attention. Just like how we've interviewed over time. Before we had, when it was in person in office, you would have people whiteboard, and then COVID happened, and now it's like, no, digital whiteboards kind of suck still. Let's just go and do a take home test. And now you have these AI tools where if they do a take home test, that they can upload the code, tell get Copilot, whatever, to go solve your problems. Here's the deal. Luckily, those AI tools aren't that great yet. And so you can kind of give a smell test. But again, that's why I think don't put too much attention on a technical take home. Go and talk to them.
Hmm.
Talk about the projects they're working on. Talk about what they're excited. I did an interview not too long ago, and it was a really interesting interview because the candidate came in and I was like, okay, what have you been working on? And they were like, you don't want to look at my tech exercise? I was like, no. What have you been working on? Like, what are
Who
you excited
cares?
about? Like, what have you been doing? Like, who cares? Like, who cares? You probably chat GPT that shit. You probably copilot that shit. Because if you're smart, you did. What have you been working on? Oh man, this developer told me like end to end this crazy integration they built off this really nascent SDK, and I was like, "You're a nerd, and I love it." And that is some curious stuff. I said, "You cross reverse that." I said, "Show me. I should show me your repo." And they're like, "Oh," and I was like,
Really?
hire that person. I was like, you need to hire this person. I was like, they know their shit. They're inquisitive. They're hungry. No guidance, and they're working on something. Yeah, really random. Maybe keep an eye on them on like scope creep and like product boundaries. But if you want a hardcore engineer that's going to be inquisitive and awesome, have a conversation. We're human. You can see that joy. You can see that spark. And maybe they don't have to be over the top like me, but I think that's how you sniff through it. We got to trust ourselves. Like
Yeah.
as a human, I don't know. I'm a good or bad. I'm a trust by default. I think when somebody shows up, you have to expect the best. Yes, there's people that are going to manipulate this. Yes, there's people that probably have different desires and wants, but I think you have to trust your instinct. Again, ground yourself in what you're looking for and really get a sense of like, is this person going to be a positive contribution to my team? And it goes from the chasm. Like if you already have a bunch of, as a manager, if you got a bunch of loudmouths like me on the team, diversify that team. Get you some introverts, get you some more quiet people, get some people that maybe aren't that archetype, because we do have bias to personalities. Like we talk about bias in a lot of ways, but and like you just deal with some people, but sometimes you don't need you need different people
Yes.
because the five dysfunctions of a team are when you're overly gelling and then you put your blinders on. And
Yes.
so I always try to push and say like, what's the job to be done? How does this person fit in with the crew? Like how are
Yeah.
they going to contribute in a unique way? And I think that's way more important than some of the nonsense technical exercises, to be quite frank, because at this day and age, they're going to be people are going to be smart about them. Everything's on the internet. And you know what? I do want people to use the AI tools, but I don't want them to use them to a fault. And this is where you got to go and look and say like, okay, that's crap. And there is still a lot of crap and a lot of a
Yeah.
lot of hallucinations and nonsense in them. And you can quickly check. I know there's things to check, but I'm not that. I don't know. I just
I,
think it's
I
waste
love
of
what you
time.
said about, the value of creating like a diverse team of people with different backgrounds, different points of view, different experiences. And, this is always even a controversial topic, how to create, diverse, inclusive teams. Do you think you can be intentional about this in some way? How can you, if you set a goal of, yeah, I want my team to be diverse and provide different point of views, how can you effectively go after this?
I think it's a lot of honestly manager enablement and training and ensuring that you have set down what success looks like globally versus the job that needs to happen right now. And we've all had different stages of our journey as managers, growing and understanding the bigger picture. And when you're a frontline manager and you're just like, I got to hire, there's a different set of stressors that can come in that can
Mm,
kind of put some of those things away because you're just like, I'm going to take this persona that I know will just come in and it's somebody's reference and we're just going to hire immediately. And like I've done that. Like sometimes you just need to go and do that. But you can't make every hire like that. You
mm,
cannot do that. Like you have to be objectable and not subjective every time and ask good questions because what will end up happening is you may have solved the problem in the short term, but you may have created other problems in the
yeah.
future that you haven't even understood because you haven't done diligence there. And this is where I tell people like, you know, what are your KPIs? What are your key performance indicators for a successful hire that adds to your team? Is it time to hire? You're going to go in your network, you're going to hire somebody you've done, and they're probably going to be somebody that's just like you because you hired them so fast. You vouched. You're like, boom.
Yeah.
I say that's okay. That's okay too. But they can't be all your dang hires.
Yes.
And at a startup, when you're small, almost all your hires are going to be like that at first.
Yes.
But you got to start growing up. You want to sell and provide to a global population. They ain't going to all be like you in that office or in that virtual office. They're going to be like me. They're going to be like you. They're not going to all be from San Francisco. They're going to be from around the world, hopefully, with many different backgrounds. That's why I say take a beat.
Mm.
What are your values? What do you actually need on this team? Do you need more leadership skills? Do you need hardcore tech? Do you need what do you need? And where do you need them? Like, are you a remote global distributed workforce? Like, don't just go, take the first 15 candidates that come from the US. How is the team demographically separated? Like, I try to put boundaries in places that can help lead us to the right candidates before we have to do like just a free for all. And it's like, okay, like if the core team is in a particular geolocation, 3 hours out on every side, because beyond that, it's very hard to collaborate. Um, Even we're like with staff and principal engineers, believe me, they want to collaborate too. One of their job is mentorship, and if they're on the other side of the world, how are they
Of
going to
course.
mentor? Um, so really, I tell people, take a little minute, take a beat, like really understand how you're playing a part. And I hope like a lot of companies see the value in having diverse people and building equitable and inclusive systems. But the reality is, you can't do it to the fault of your company. You got to do it as something that is always living and breathing. And progress on this is not linear like anything in life. There will be moments because tech is still very much male dominated, at least speaking as a woman. So there's different ways that you can diversify and take that journey there. But in the DevOps space, we know that there's not a lot of, at least from a diversity of gender, there's not a lot of women in that space. And when you want like a hardcore DevOps engineer, um, with lots of years of experience, it's hard to find, you know, non-male
Yeah.
candidates, non-men identifying candidates. But I think you have to do the work. You have to do the work because believe me, they're out there. I'm a representation of that. And now today, there's no excuse. I mean, I'll give a little bit of an excuse. I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, there's so many women, and there's always going to be women, and non-binary people that are going to need jobs. And there are other people that are underrepresented in other ways that are probably not a part of your workforce that are going to need jobs. And you know what? If you want to represent your community of global people, you should probably get their perspectives. You
Yeah.
should probably understand how they work, because I'm going to tell you, there's so little many new nuances. We had a team in Kenya, and the global infrastructure of internet and just telecommunications in some areas isn't as strong as other places. And so they have to work and show up a little bit different. And it also pushes you to think about caching and
Yeah.
optimization. And when you have people that live and breathe and sit in those
Yes.
locations, you'll be a better developer because
Yeah.
their problems are different than yours and something you probably never even experienced.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this angle because it's very practical and anchored to value. Many people think about this topic, in an abstract way, like they have to meet some quota or something. Well, the reality is that creating a diverse team creates value because just like as diverse is your customer base, is your user base. So if you want to create a better product, you want people who can put themselves in the same shoes of your customers, of your users, because they are distributed across the world, because of the ethnicities, because of their backgrounds, because of whatever. Right?
Yeah.
So just like we say, founders should know very well the problem they are solving. We should hire people who know their angle of the problem, and it's very real, and I love this perspective.
It has to be the perspective, man. And like everybody should touch tech. And there's been so many studies done. It has been shown that people that come from non-traditional collegiate backgrounds learn different. They learn different. Most people with non-traditional backgrounds, and like I will find the stat, it's out there on the internet, are more visual learners because they haven't had the traditional writing and reading type of learning. They've learned on their own. They've learned through courses. And now a lot of people learn through, I hate to say it, TikTok videos, YouTube,
It's
little
true.
snippets. Like I will talk to developers that are in the early beginnings of their journey, and I ask them, I say, how do you learn? How do you pick up new stuff? They're watching Twitch streams, they're watching people program. We did not learn that way. Even I did not learn that way back in
Yeah.
the day, but it depends where you are. in the world and what you have available access to, how you're going to intake that information. And knowing that's going to help you build better software, because if you have people that learn different, and for me, I am charted in my life of enabling developers and creators to always create and develop. Well, I need to give them a way that they can understand the newest and latest things in a way that's digestible for them. And again, that comes with having inclusive and diverse hiring that represent a global community of who you're serving, or you're not going to open up the doors to allow everybody to participate. And that's all I want,
Yeah.
everybody to participate in what we do.
Absolutely. I love this. And by the way, about education, I totally agree. And I think it will be more and more like this. I mean, in the future, there will be more and more ways for people to get to the same destination through different paths. And by the way, I mean, I've been doing this podcast for about 6 months now, and you won't be, I mean, I'm interviewing some of the most accomplished tech leaders like in the world, and you won't believe how many of them went through some completely unconventional journey. I mean, you may imagine that people at big tech, at VP or C-level roles, are all, computer science, Stanford, or PhD, and then Silicon Valley. I mean, but it's like maybe, I don't know, 5% of the people that I
At this
met
point,
at this point. So
yeah.
I mean, I'm talking with you, and you tell me about the military, and before I talk with Maria Gutierrez from Personio, who started in graduated in journalism, and there are others who studied philosophy. I mean, they come to tech from all kinds of backgrounds, and I think it will be more and more like this, and they will bring this perspective that is different, because I mean, if you study journalism, that stays with you. If you study philosophy, that stays with you. If you had this
Yes.
experience in the military, and it will add to what you bring to the table, and I love that.
I can't agree more. I love it. When I meet the entomologists that hated their math CAD program and decided to start programming, I'm like,
You're
tell me
in.
about bugs. You're in, because it's like
Say no
that's
more.
what's happening. Say no more. You're in. But honestly, that's the kind of curiosity and innovation you want. You want that. But you also, I mean, I love a traditional background. I love students. I think it's amazing that you got bit by the bug and got to go and paint and cast away all the way through your secondary schooling to really do this. Like, I don't want to be dismissive of that, but the reality of it is like, we have made tech way more accessible. It is awesome. You can go to places like Udemy, Code Academy, whatever. You can do some self study, and you can translate what you were doing before, even if it was philosophy, into something and still have that edge that connects with people. And I think that background, it just makes software better for all of us. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and I was speaking with a previous investor of mine a few weeks ago, and he told me that he thinks that since with AI it's easier and easier to learn things, and AI even helps you creating stuff, so you don't need to do many things that you had to do before. Basically, the strongest edge that we still have individually is more of your attitude, your mentality to learn. And so even people who exactly didn't have like a regular traditional journey can more easily catch up. And if they have the right attitude, now the tooling is so much better that they have like a strong edge over those who had like the perfect, academic path. But they don't have the same energy, they don't have the same attitude. So it's kind of leveling the playing field in a
I
way.
think so. I agree. I agree. I mean, it's gonna take observation and time to really see, how these systems impact some of the things that we're doing. But again, at the end of the day, I was talking about chores earlier. That's what I want AI to do. I don't want AI to be me
Yeah.
unless I can sell it, and then I'll sell the AI version of me, and then the real version will be very expensive. That's my next startup, Luca. AI me. That's already got that, y'all. But in all seriousness,
Writing
I
it
want it.
down.
I want it to enable. I want it to enable me. I want it to do the chores. Like I started this career. I don't know, maybe not being lazy, but optimizing life with some laziness involved.
Yeah.
And I think AI has the opportunity to do that. I still think there's a huge amount of space for creatives and innovators,
Yeah.
because that's what makes humans even more awesome. Is like, we'll get to AIG one day, or AGI, or whatever, artificial general intelligence, but that's going to be a while. And until then, we get to be the wild card in
Yeah.
all of the models. And that's what I think we as humans bring, is that ability to be the wild card in these models, because it can't be us yet. And I think that we still have something incredibly special in humanity, and that's why we continue to exist on this planet, is because we are pushing boundaries and doing things that have never been done before, because we don't have those boundaries within our mind unless we put them on. And so
Wow.
I try to encourage people to have that growth mindset and think and do the things you never thought were possible, because that's something special to you, and it's that right attitude that's going to make it happen. You may use an AI tool to manifest it, but it's still going to come right here.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, words of wisdom. Thank you for that. And but so are you in your day to day in the work with your engineering team? So are you already witnessing ways AI is changing the way you work, aside from pure productivity, that people are faster at creating code? Like, are you embedding AI in workflows in ways that are small or big?
I mean, we've been utilizing it in different ways. I mean, again, taking that mindset of, well, before you just go in or just do something blindly, like, you should probably get to know it. You should become friends with it. You should have
Yeah.
some level of comfortability. So I've been really intentional of trying to bring in like internal AI tools to our workflows so we can produce something externally that is meaningful.
Mm.
There's a lot of AI garbage right now where you're like,
Yeah.
what is
A
this?
lot
This is
of
not
it.
useful. There is, and that's how it happens, right? It's like, let's go build the next Yo app. People remember that. Now AI can do it. But in all seriousness, I think you need to start introducing them, so things where we can take out some of the chores that had previously happened. Let's utilize
Mm.
AI for that. We've been using AI for like revision work. So,
Mm.
React comes out with a new vision. You know what a pain in the butt it is when new versions of code languages or software or frameworks come out. Most everything is backwards compatible, but believe me, there's always a handful of stuff that you're like, that's gonna break.
Yeah.
That's gonna break. And if you're like me and you love a monolith, but you have them, the scariness of that's going to break increases. You could sit there and have somebody go and do that upgrade and go through every line of code, or you can be smart and have AI go refactor that, because you can do one-to-one. I'm using it that way.
Yeah.
And then in other ways in the workflow, it's like, I don't know about you, Luca, but I don't really love writing emails. I mean, I'm an executive. I write emails and spreadsheets for a living. That's basically all I do. But AI to optimize that, I mean, like, show me where all those commas go. I'm here for it. I'm just really trying to break the barrier down. It's like,
Totally.
what are the rudimentary tasks you always do? How can we apply it to things that really get us comfortable with it? And so, really, in that deployment life cycle, we've implemented some tools there for checks and balances. I've always had this dream of like smart alerting, where the alert goes off and well, at the time, it's machine learning, just says, oh my gosh, this is an error, I'm going to go suppress it, and then or do whatever. Like, that's here, like, it's here, like, that's the way that I'm thinking about it, and utilizing some of our common frameworks that have been developed over time, like the Dora framework, to say, how can AI help that something that's been studied over years even be better? And I do
Yeah.
think a lot of it still centers around productivity.
Mm.
I mean, because I just don't feel that AI is at a place where it's good at like content and creativity. It's not. It's good at summaries. It's good at like
Yeah.
the small minor stuff, but like, I wouldn't release the AI hounds to do some of my brand or like style. I think it's too
Yeah.
clunky and
Don't
wrong,
tell me. I
but it's great for
tried.
prototyping. It's bad, dude.
It's
It's
bad.
bad. I spent a lot of hours trying to make something stupid with AI, and I was like, I literally could have just done this myself at this
Yeah.
point. But again, I'm trying to like understand. There's so many big major foundational models right now,
Yes.
and I'm trying to understand the differences between the foundational models, because if you're going to be a developer in this day and age, you should understand them, and you should start experimenting, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree about content creation and any really creative
Terrible.
like outlet. I mean, I think that the correct heuristic for things that you can or cannot apply AI for is what you said before. If it's a chore, chances are you can use AI. I mean, you
It's
can,
repeatable.
you can try, to train it and give it precise instructions, and more or less it will follow it. So if it's a chore that is not much creative on your side, even if it's a complex thing, AI can probably help. But if it's, a creative thing that, I mean, I'm a full-time newsletter writer, so nobody would be happier than myself if AI could lift some of my work. But I mean, when it comes to the chore parts of of my work, I can see some benefit, like doing some research, figuring out like
Mm-hmm.
case studies about if I want to write about some
Yep.
topic, does some research for me, summarizes stuff. There is a 3 hours YouTube video. I don't want to watch it in full. I can go through the summary. I mean, all this stuff,
Exactly.
it's incredibly valuable. So that is not to say these models are not valuable at all. I mean, they save me a lot of time, but the core part of what makes our work valuable is still not there. Maybe it will be there soon. I don't know, but in my direct experience, it's not 100% there.
It's not, and we love hearing from the voice of Luca, right? Like if it, you can tell there's just little nuances, and I think that's what makes it special, and it makes it human, and it connects us.
Yes.
And I don't know, I love little delights, and I think AI can provide those, but I think at the end of the day, it's the content and your voice and your opinion
Yes.
that people want to hear and see, and
Yes.
because more people probably have a shared opinion than you know, and AI is not going to solve that. So I'm with you. That's how I utilize it too. I mean, I'm not going to go watch. I mean, I have the attention span of a goldfish already. I'm not going to go watch an hour and a half talk. I do it on 2x and then I glaze out and then I'm like, okay, an AI summary, I'm like, fabulous. But then I can
Yes.
key on the stuff where I'm very interested. And again, that's just like I love it as a research tool. I
Yes.
do. I think it's a fabulous research tool. But would I just have it be me? Nah, not yet. Not until my startup's done and AI me is a thing, and then come talk to me. Well, Luca, then we'll have our newsletters written by the chatbot of us.
Yes, I will interview again, like 1 year from now, when you will, exclusively present me your new
Yeah,
startup.
exactly. It'll just be this avatar and digital Dana. I don't think it has enough cussing though.
Okay.
I'm being a very good human
Give
today
it some
and
time.
saving it for the
Yes. Yes.
give it some time, man. But we'll get the AI bot spicy. Um,
We'll get there. We'll get there. So, Dana, thank you so much for this incredible chat. I loved every minute, took many notes. So, thank you again for taking the time and being here with us today.
yeah, well, thanks for having me on. It was awesome to get to connect and talk to the world. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this chat valuable, you can subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Also, please consider giving us a rating or leaving a review, as that really helps other listeners find the show. You can find all past episodes and learn more about the show at refactoring.fm. See you in the next episode.